Hello everyone! Thanks for tuning in to check out what else I saw in May that I didn't already review. I'm just gonna dive right into it, trying to keep it short and simple this time. Movie number 1 is 1956's Beyond a Reasonable Doubt, a Fritz Lang-directed film in which Dana Andrews plays a writer who agrees to his future father-in-law's plan to get himself arrested for murder, convicted, and sentenced to death in order to make a statement against capital punishment, the intent being to reveal all at the 11th hour and expose to the public the possibility that an innocent man may be executed for a crime he did not commit. Of course, something goes wrong. This was an interesting film, the plot engrossing in its planning and execution, though I did get a bit distracted with one or two details I found inconsistent. The first half focuses on the clever setup, and the second half is a tense courtroom drama. Knowing the premise, the direction things go in may be a mite predictable, but as if in anticipation of that, Douglas Morrow's screenplay shakes things up with a double twist. You know, last December I rewatched While the City Sleeps, which is also a 1956 noirish crime drama directed by Fritz Lang and starring Dana Andrews, and both stories force his character to act in a rather smarmy way. I've gotta say, I've liked Dana Andrews much better in other movies. This film co-stars Joan Fontaine, glamorously dressed, and Sidney Blackmer, with Arthur Franz and Barbara Nichols. Incidentally, it was remade in 2009 with Michael Douglas. Movie number 2 is another courtroom drama. Turner Classic Movies had some kind of theme going on. 1946's Criminal Court. Tom Conway stars as a smooth-talking defense attorney who specializes in using courtroom theatrics to win over the jury. He finds himself in hot water when a confrontation with a mob boss, played by Robert Armstrong of King Kong fame, results in accidental death. Nobody believes the truth, and Conway's lady friend, an aspiring singer played by Martha O'Driscoll, gets accused of murder. Conway has to figure out how to exonerate her without making himself look guilty. I enjoyed this. I find Tom Conway more pleasant to watch and listen to every time I see him. This film was sandwiched between his last 2 entries in the Falcon series, which I still have yet to watch. This is pretty light fare, all things considered. Clocking in at less than 70 minutes, everything moves quickly, but it's an entertaining film and one of Robert Wise's earlier directorial efforts. Movie number 3 is 1980's Hopscotch, in which Walter Matthau stars as a senior CIA agent who finds himself demoted to a desk job by a churlish new department head. Disgruntled, he pulls a disappearing act and sets off on an international jaunt, writing a tell-all memoir and sending individual chapters to various major governments, making the CIA and everyone else furious and eager to catch him before he spills any more beans. This is more of a merry chase than a cat-and-mouse game, though, especially with Mathau's lead being a good-natured guy with a tenacious spirit and a passion for classical music and opera. Plus, his quirky relationships with other main players are charming. The supporting cast includes Glenda Jackson in a whimsical turn as Mathau's lady friend and a former agent herself living in Salzburg, Sam Waterston as his young protege at the agency who's now reluctantly on his tail, Ned Beatty as the irascible and near-apoplectic F-bomb-dropping superior, and my guy Herbert Lom, delightful as always, playing a KGB agent. Admittedly, I noticed some similarities to a movie I talked about last year, 1973's Scorpio, with Burt Lancaster and Alain Delon. They both have a senior agent who knows too much being tracked down by the agency, with his own protege hot on his trail, and both have prominent scenes in Austria. But Scorpio, for the most part, has a heavier tone, while Hopscotch, as the title might suggest, sets out to be more amusing, a fun and creative film. It was directed by Ronald Neame, who did Tunes of Glory, which I talked about last month, and The Poseidon Adventure, which I talked about the month before, or maybe it was 2 months, I don't know, I can't remember anymore. And Mathau's own son David plays the role of another agent trying to catch him, and getting very frustrated in the process. Now here's where the list takes kind of a funny turn. During the last full week of May, my mom and I went on a little alien movie bender. 4 different movies, 3 we'd never seen before, 2 on Amazon Prime and 2 on YouTube, 4 different subgenres, if we're considering science fiction the genre, alien movie the subgenre. Monday, we watched I Married a Monster from Outer Space on YouTube, subgenre Alien Invasion. Tuesday, we watched Aliens on Prime, subgenre Fighting Aliens in Outer Space. Wednesday, we watched Roswell on YouTube, subgenre UFO Conspiracy. And Thursday, we watched Fire in the Sky on Prime, subgenre abductions. Believe it or not, between the two of us, my mom is really the one who's always been all gung-ho for alien movies. Not indiscriminately, but I know if at any time I find something that I want to watch and I say, hey, you want to watch this movie? It's got aliens. She'll say yes. I ended up doing solo reviews of 2 of these movies. I posted about Aliens last week, and I'll post the review of I Married a Monster from Outer Space, which I've already filmed, shocking, either next week or the week after. Probably the week after. The other 2 I'll talk about right now. Movie number 4 is 1994's Roswell, or Roswell the UFO Cover-Up, a TV movie allegedly based on a true story that stars Kyle MacLachlan as a disgraced army officer at a reunion trying to uncover the truth behind an incident that occurred 30 years before when strange metal debris indicative of a UFO was discovered on a farm in Roswell, New Mexico. I figured my mom would like this, but I ended up enjoying it a lot too. It alternates between the so-called present-day events, set in 1977, and the flashbacks to 1947 smoothly, with old-age makeup and mannerisms making it easy to keep track of time. It's got a great cast of character actors that includes Dwight Yoakam, Xander Berkeley, Bob Gunton, and Peter MacNicol, and Martin Sheen co-stars in a brief but significant role. Kyle MacLachlan is the star here, though, and he gives a great performance as the soldier and family man whose earnest curiosity and enthusiasm spur him to keep digging deeper, but whose sense of duty compels him to follow orders, even at his own personal cost. The film is well-paced, with the story gradually unfolding piece by piece. I was surprised to see the screenplay was written by Arthur Koppett, who I most associate with the musical Phantom, co-written with Maury Yeston. Roswell also has an effective score by Elliot Goldenthal and surprisingly good special effects. Between its being on YouTube and its being a TV movie from '94, I had my concerns about the quality, but it looks fine. It does take a more fantastic and creepy turn toward the end, and I wasn't sure how I felt about all that. It seemed to be piling on, until I realized the point that was being made, which is pretty interesting. Definitely check this out if you've got a yen for UFO stories or government conspiracies, even if you don't believe in aliens, and I don't think I do. UFOs are intriguing, and the concept of a secret group devising ways to conceal truth and mislead the public is sadly not far-fetched at all. I did address my own conflicted feelings about unidentified flying objects here a couple years ago when I reviewed the splendid nonfiction book Incident at Exeter by John G. Fuller. I've put a link to that video in the description for anyone who wants to check it out. Movie number 5 is 1993's Fire in the Sky, based on the story of Travis Walton, a logger in Arizona who claimed to have been abducted by aliens in 1975. Now, I'm not too keen on alien abduction movies, but I think I liked this one as much as I did because it was about a lot more than the abduction. It's about relationships and the aftermath of a troubling, unexplainable experience. The bulk of the film is actually concerned with the 5 other members of the logging crew who witnessed the UFO and thought they saw Walton get killed. They rush back to town, but nobody believes the story. And worse, everyone suspects them of his murder. D.B. Sweeney plays Travis Walton, adding depth to his performance in the third act as the traumatized survivor. There's one point where he screams in terror, and it's chilling. I'm sure what people remember most from this film is the initial UFO scene, which is simply but effectively done and looks better in the movie than it does in screenshots, and the eerie abduction sequence, especially that part with the needle, which, yeah, is awful and disturbing. Not that you actually see anything, but the build-up is excruciating. However, it was the middle section of the story that really pulled me in, with the locals turning on the other men. While Walton remains missing and his perceived death is unexplained, these guys' lives are ruined. They're social pariahs, treated as liars and murderers who are on the verge of being run out of town, if not thrown in prison. It focuses particularly on Walton's best friend and future brother-in-law, played by Robert Patrick, whose gruff but sensitive performance is excellent, and it's a fine example of what I've started calling eye acting. I don't know how to define that, except a communication of deep feeling concentrated in the eyes. That sounds stupid, but eye acting, that's just what I've started calling it. The cast also features James Garner as the out-of-town detective, a skeptic and kind of a jerk, Craig Sheffer, future director Peter Berg, and an almost grown-up Henry Thomas. You know, Elliot from E.T. According to one site, it looks like critics panned this one, but regular viewers then and now have had a more favorable reaction, and I certainly found it compelling, especially for the haunting characterization of the two leads. And that's all, folks. My parents and I did watch about 18 minutes of the 1958 film I Accuse on the Turner Classic Movies streaming app, but we got interrupted, something came up, and we haven't had a chance to get back to it. We will, though. It's going to be available for a while longer, and so I'm sure I'll discuss it next time. In the next What Else I Saw video, I mean. I hope you enjoyed this video, even though there was a little less variety than there usually is. That's about the only consistent thing about these videos, is their unpredictability. The movies are listed in the description. Please feel free to share your thoughts on any of these films if you've seen them in the comments below, and I'll be back soon. Thanks for watching.